just rises up, beats Safari. What a fantastic save.
The only way to go to playoff is getting points, right? We will face every team is on the same train than us, and if we are not getting points like today it's disappointing the way we lost, you know. So this is the only way to go to playoff, just making points.
Well, there he is, former North Texas SC head coach Javier Cano. The news breaking today that FC Dallas front office staff decided to dismiss Javi Cano after a poor run of form that has North Texas in the 11th place in MLS Western Next Pro Western Conference. So some of the news today that we're going to get to as we welcome you to Afterburn Soccer Show. I'm your host, Nathan Hill. You can follow me at Nathan J. Hill. It's a warm one here in Southern California. Nice warm one. And I don't know if it's warm where you are. We welcome Jose Carmona.
Hi, it's kind of cool over here right now.
Oh, good for you. You can follow him at El Chico Carmona on Twitter. We just invite you to pull up your chair, pull up your computer screen, chat with us, hang out with us, and let us know what you're thinking about the various news and rumors and things that have come out over this past weekend and today. It's kind of a busy news day for FC Dallas and North Texas Soccer Club fans. So let's start, before we get to the Seattle result, North Texas goes down to Houston Dynamo 2, a team that they have so far not been able to beat in Next Pro, and fall apart again. They get an equalizing goal in the second half from Pablo Torre, who's making a nice little season for himself as a sort of as a youngster, as growing into it. But you could hear even in that post-game comment from head coach Cano that just the despair, the exhaustion of struggling, of seeing this team make those same defensive mistakes that we have talked about on this show time and time again, and just unable to get over the hump, unable to make the corrections. You could hear it in Cano's voice, and as a result, with their position, as we mentioned before, front office staff decided FC Dallas dismissed him as head coach, and John Gall taken over in the interim role. And we'll see how the rest of the season unfolds. Let's so Jose, just your reaction on that move.
Well, I'm completely stunned. Hey, how's it going, Marcin? Yeah, I'm completely stunned. I frankly expected this team to add some reinforcements, and I'm not talking major reinforcements, but I did expect them to address the fact that a lot of players that they were hoping to have available to them this season, namely bottom of the senior roster players, were not available because FC Dallas is so banged up that Endele, Kamungo, Mulatto, all these guys are with the senior team, Corca, Norris. These are players that North Texas anticipated having available. And as a result, right now, I kid you not, the average age of North Texas, the North Texas roster, is under 19 on average. And mind you, that age would go up, the average would go up if some of these players that are on the FC Dallas roster would be made available to them, but that's not happening. And there's a difference between last year when we had Coach Ka and this year. Coach Ka last year, they got a team with the idea that there would be very little movement between the senior team and North Texas. I don't know if they planned it that way, but that's how the team was rostered. This year, they plan on having rotation with the senior team, and that hasn't transpired due to the injuries. And as a result, North Texas, some of their key players right now, Ale Urza has 13 starts and 3 off the bench. He's got like 1157 1,157 minutes played this season.
Mm-hmm.
Diego Garcia has 1,008 on 12 starts and 2 coming off the bench. And other key youngsters that have played for us, Nairobi Vargas, over 500 minutes. Uh, uh, Ramirez, he's got over 500 minutes. Diego Hernandez, he's got 374 minutes, 3 starts, 9 off the bench. Norris, 450. Mind you, he would probably be higher if he wasn't running enough to play from time to time with the senior team. And this just is such a young team. And I was gonna say, okay, no one's happy with the record, of course. I admit to that. But myself, as a fan, understanding that it is a reserve team, I'm pretty excited that all these young players are getting minutes. Diego Pepe has gotten minutes.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of other kids that have gotten minutes, and so of course you see this in the way of the team has been very erratic in their performance. Basically unable to hold leads even when they have been winning. Unable to turn 3 points and have to settle for a draw. Unable to get a draw and have to settle for a loss. Drop points after drop points after drop points. How many times have we seen them score a goal and only to concede a goal within minutes? Sometimes, and I don't mean like 5-10 minutes. I'm talking like
Right.
1-2 minutes, like instant reaction, and that's a sign of a young team. They relax or they're too busy celebrating. They're unfocused, and while sure, some of the blame has to fall on Kano. I expect them to give him a full year. I mean, you got to give the man an opportunity to get to know it takes a time to get to know all the players available to you from the academy. And it's not like Nico's system is his system, so he's learning that system as he goes too, trying to implement it. And so I all I can say is has to be something behind the scenes that we're not aware of, and I don't really want to speculate about that.
Kind of pointless too, but
kind of pointless too.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he lost the locker room, maybe he rubbed some people the wrong way or something. Who knows? But the results were not great. I mean, anyway, right?
Well, the results are not great. I mean, that alone is enough to get most coaches fired if it was a senior team. But we're talking a roster team. I mean, play the young players, and I'm just stunned. There's nothing I can say to other than good luck to Coach Kano. Hope he succeeds wherever he ends up, and I don't know what the point is. I mean, is this let's make a run to the playoffs kind of thing? I don't know. I don't know what they're going for. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm still going to cheer the team on, but it'll be interesting to see if they roll out the same lineups or if they're going to make some kind of change. Because I think it's John Gall is taking over as the interim manager for now, and I think he's the director of the academy. So he should be quite familiar with the players available to him. And here's another thing, a lot of the academy teams have finished their seasons, the U19s, U17s, and some players are going to be going off to college and whatnot. But the other players that are, whatever players are available, they're going to be with North Texas, whether it's just on a academy contract or whatnot. So I'm kind of curious to see how they're going to reinforce, because some of these U19s who had a very successful season, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to sign a couple of them to the North Texas roster. Obviously, it needs reinforcements.
Yeah, and the most recent signing that North Texas announced was Dylan Lacey, a midfielder. Originally comes out of, I think, the Philadelphia Union Academy.
Union Academy, yes.
Yeah, so interesting prospect there. A guy that they're planning to bring along into the team. Yeah. It's I think the bigger picture. It just raises the question of how FC Dallas sees the role of North Texas and and there is a solution to an answer to that question, and just what we've been seeing from Bernard Kumungo, who we'll talk about in a moment. For some of these other guys who are giving the senior team some minutes, either off the bench or at the start. Maybe not the most perfect minutes, but they're guys who you can tell are able to come in. They're familiar with the system. They're training with the first team, but they're getting minutes with North Texas. So that's kind of what you want from that reserve team, to bring up interesting prospects, to give them a chance. Where in the past, FC Dallas would sign some of these guys. They found that one guy, Augustin Hara from Argentina at a textile factory. And they said, this guy has something, but they didn't have a place to stash him,
Isn't he the guy that pretty much retired one of our players? I want to say he had that.
Maybe.
All I remember is he had a monster tackle that got one of our players injured.
But that's what you want to see with North Texas, at least a place to stash these interesting prospects. Low risk, high reward kind of a deal, and provide a meaningful pathway to the senior team and to depth for the senior team. That's not just a complete rookie guy. And even this season, I think we've seen a little bit of that. We've seen some of Cano's work, perhaps with them some, where you get some quality minutes from Indele, you get minutes from Kumungo, you get some minutes from Norris and stuff that may not have been perfect, but they at least help the team in a time of need. So the big question, I think, for FC Dallas is just, what kind of coach do they want? I thought with this hire, they were getting someone who was going to be on the same page with Nico, have a nice system, have a nice flow set up between the senior and first team. There's a lot out of Javier's control this season with the injuries, as you said. I don't think he ever was able to put together the best 11 because of just what the senior team needed. So so that bigger picture is kind of, what coach do they want? Do they want to win titles? If so, wonderful, great. But then that might mean a different path. That might mean you don't want to send guys up to the senior team. You might want to, you might have to deal with that relationship differently.
I think that FC Dallas wants the best of both worlds with North Texas. They want them to develop players, but they also expect a winning product. They want to establish a winning culture, in the organization, and that starts, from the bottom up, and you want players that they're not happy to see. And mind you, North Texas, they try to market it as its own, separate entity. And if you're gonna treat it as a separate entity, even though we all know it's not, if this was a non-reserve team in another league, this firing would not be all that shocking, So the question is how does North Texas view itself, and it could be as simple as that, as them basically saying, hey, we may be a reserve team, but we're not treating this team as a reserve team. We're treating it as a Division III professional team, and we expect results. So it could be as simple as that. So we'll find out over time. I'm sure eventually we'll get some news floating out to us. But like I said, it could be as simple as that, as, hey, we're holding this team to a higher standard than just being a reserve team. We expect wins, and we're not going to accept mediocrity or mediocre results. And honestly, like I said, if this was not a reserve team, no one would be shocked that their manager got fired midseason.
And maybe this is a wake-up call for those of us who have been seeing North Texas as, as that reserve team, and the priorities are different. Maybe this is Dan Hunt and company saying, no, we need to be winning more games than this, and we need a coach that's going to help us get there. So
I will tell you, I'll admit to something here. Like, in those rough patches in the past couple of years, where FC Dallas has occasionally had its downturns, and you know what I mean, they're doldrums where they're dropping points, on a weekly basis, because they always have those stretches. It was always nice to have North Texas to root for, because at least you knew they were going to be entertaining, and you knew they were very likely to get a point or 3 points, and at least cushion some of that pessimism from overcoming you. But this season, that's not what's happening, because FC Dallas right now, currently with all the injuries, is in that dreaded doldrums again. but North Texas isn't there to cheer me up, because they're in their doldrums too. So
Yeah.
so I I understand what North Texas is trying to do, and like I said, good luck. I hope. I always, if they add the proper reinforcements, this team can rebound and make a run, and I think that's very much what they're going to try to do.
Well, we'll give one more opportunity for Cano's voice to be heard here. His classic line during one, I think, pregame conference.
And by the way, I love your podcast. I was listening.
Thanks, Coach. Best of luck
Thanks,
for what's to
Coach.
come, and we'll of course report more if we find out any more about this situation and things, and of course when North Texas, how they decide to move forward in the future. It definitely will make this week kind of interesting to watch, to see how the team prepares for their match this weekend. Going back to bridging from that, we do have North Texas to thank for Bernard Kumungo, who once again was a clutch player as FC Dallas traveled up to Seattle, Pacific Northwest, a crucial away game, especially considering their poor run of form lately. They gave up an own goal early off of our latest superstar, Sam Junka, and
That guy just can't miss.
Man, just unfortunate for him. Unfortunate is one of those things that happens. But the team kind of hung in there, and from a assist from Sebastian Letjet, a beautiful headed goal in from Kumungo, just kind of out of nowhere, but it was a crucial goal for the youngster and a crucial goal for the team as they are able to see out the game and get an away point. Martin Paz with another standout performance. Quite a goalkeeper we have on our hands in Frisco. I just hope we can build around him quite quickly here, because if he keeps playing like this, some other team is going to come sniffing to see if he wants to go back to Europe. So what were your thoughts from this match, Jose? Was this a little bit of a little more of a bright spot than what we have experienced recently, right?
I can't think of a recent time where not just myself but most of the fan base, as far as I'm concerned, has come out of a draw so happy with that draw, so excited that the team got a draw, and it's because it's against Seattle. I mean, it's it's always been a nightmare scenario to travel to Seattle and walk away with anything, and that's usually when you're full strength. To go in there all banged up, playing players out of position and whatnot, and having players that are coming off of injuries that aren't all the way back, and to walk out of it with a point. I mean, I think we all celebrated like it's a win, but there were quite a few stunning, things that happened during the game that I think that's where the excitement comes from, and of course, Kumungo's is that his third goal, and each one of his goal has been clutch, something that we normally only see from Jesus Ferreira. Mm-hmm. So that's the excitement that, hey, once Jesus gets back and the team gets healthy, the Kumungo will now be a guy coming off the bench. And it's nice to know that you have a guy coming off the bench that can be dangerous, that can get game-winning goals or game-tying goals. And that's what the excitement is with Kumungo, is because we all know he's just scratching the surface of where he can be. So that's exciting. The other thing is Leggett with the assist. I mean, let's face it. This is what is expected from Leggett, and it's good to see him perform and produce, and it's a good sign. He's not back, but it's a sign that he's getting back, and that's I'll take that for now. That's why we need Leggett to live up to expectations. So yes, happy to see Leggett. The other thing is Dante Seeley. My goodness, the sub in the second half where everybody was collectively looking at each other and asking, has he ever played left back in his career? And honestly, I don't think anyone has ever seen him play that. And the attacks that Seattle was just basically terrorizing us with in the first half all but disappeared because Dante City comes in the left back and uh, what's it Hunqua that rotated over to the right side,
Right. Yeah, I think so.
yeah, for
Yeah.
Jesus, and it was night and day. I mean, let's face it, we were many of those near goals came in the first half with Giovanni getting turned and everybody basically having to scramble on defense to try to save what looked like, attack after attack. So
Mm-hmm.
Dante Sealy comes in. And I think we're all stunned and we're all like, okay. So Dante Sealy, his he looked good his first game, and now he looked great a second game, and in defensive fashion, which we totally unexpected. And it's good to know that he has that in his wheelhouse. Very happy about that. And as a whole, I mean, Paz standing on his on his head just to save us. But no, I mean, you got to be happy with coming out of Seattle,
Right.
and
Right.
yes, it wasn't pretty, but with a makeshift banged up lineup, this is what you want. You want a team that'll scrap and at least try to walk out with a point. And so we're all happy and we're all envisioning this team getting better.
Yeah, a good shout out to Facundo Quignon, who has had his moments this season. He's had some really strong moments this season that has, I think we've been a little more disappointed at times in Edwin than we have
It's
been in Facundo.
it's
And
redemption arc, isn't it? It's a
yeah.
redemption arc for Facundo, and I know some people aren't too happy with uh, Edwin, but Edwin's still young. He's still learning. He's not the answer, but he's also not a problem. Um, Let him grow. Let him get minutes. Let him, get better, which he will with time. And Quignon, like I said, wow, he's. I think at the beginning of the year we were all like, okay, that guy's got to go, and now I can't envision him. I can't envision team moving on from him right now. I mean, honestly, he's still what 28, 29. So
He's definitely.
I honestly, he's having such a good season that I would not be surprised if the team has to field offers for him. From South American teams. That he's not going to be an expensive uh, player to acquire. So he's a player that they can bring in and give him starts. For the right team. So honestly, I think he's in that sweet spot of less than a million. Um, and because of his age, he's going to be hitting 30 sometime next year. I think FC Dallas would probably be more willing to let him go for under market value. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy if he stays, and I'm happy if he goes. But I'm saying I think he's played himself to a position where I think he's a player that will FC Dallas will probably be fielding calls for. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Come to not this transfer window, but next transfer window. And God, I hope not this transfer window. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think the timing is really tough right now, unless some guys get healthy quick. There's
Uh, he
there's a
had the key
break.
pass leading to the goal, right? That was Edwin Cerrillo, by the way. Edwin Cerrillo had that pass to Leggett that led to the assist. So Edwin, he gets basically accused of not being progressive enough, did the right thing and made the right progressive pass, and he needs to do more of that. It's a good sign. Like I said, there was many
Yeah,
good things to get out of this game.
yeah, yeah, and you take away that own goal. Maybe we're talking about 3 points. Maybe FC Dallas is able to put it together, but that's they're able to come back. They're able to find that goal and to get it from someone like Kumungo. It's a great story. It's a bright spot in this season, and now they have a nice little break before the League's Cup arrives here, and so hopefully some more
Um,
guys get healthy. And
one last shout out, and that's to Ansa, who looked uh, like the answer to who's going to be Jesus's backup, because he looked very natural out there. I'm not saying he looked great, but from what little we've seen of him, he looks like a good like for like replacement. Which you know, you got Jesus and you got Jimenez, but Jimenez is not a like for like replacement. He's a completely different style player, which means you'd have to alter the way you play. But Ansa looks like a player that can come in and play similar. Yeah. And they went out and got the answer to who's going to back up Jesus. That's what I'm excited about. It is that Ansa looks like a player that can come in and relieve Jesus, and the team would not have to change their shape or change the way they're playing, which is what they needed. You know, he looked fluid, he looked competent, he looked to have just he just looks right, and that's I'll take that. I mean, I saw enough to get excited to say, hey, this guy looks like he's got something.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's special. He doesn't have to be special. He just has a guy that can give Jesus a rest from time to time, which Jesus hasn't been getting.
It'll be interesting to see him in this upcoming tournament. I think we will get to see more of him, and hopefully some guys get fit. Hopefully Paxton and Paul Arriola, who we already heard was working his way back, making good progress. Which so a good sign for this summer. Well, the injuries have just eaten this team alive, and it gives us some hope and some optimism. And thanks RT News 7170 for all of your great comments and questions there. Speaking of right back, the big rumor today, although it's just a rumor, and but that Bryan Reynolds may be coming back to MLS on a loan from Roma. He's not in Roma's plans. We saw him featured extensively in the Gold Cup. He did a pretty good account for himself. He definitely shows that there's still some things that he has to work on, but he's a young player. I'm not sold that he's coming back to MLS unless there is something that maybe there's a little homesickness mixed in, and so some time back home might help him settle and mature a little bit, and then before returning. But who knows? But I think there's probably still some negotiation happening with another club that wants to come in and get him, and Roma is just trying to, or the agent's trying to get the best offer possible. But FC Dallas is rumored to be interested in bringing Bryan Reynolds in, and with the way our right back situation has been, we don't know how long Emma Tumasi's out, and if it's a serious thing. We know that Giovan Jesus has definitely struggled. So another right back in the mix isn't a terrible shout. But if Emma gets healthy, it does create a sort of a logjam there. I'm not sure how they'll handle that, unless they see Bryan playing a little higher up on the field here and there. I'm not sure, but it's an interesting. Rumor.
Bryan Reynolds coming to FC Dallas. Let's just say it happens. Let's say they are. Let's just say they are actively trying to make it happen. That's a hey, we think we can make a run in the playoffs kind of move. That's a win now move as far as I'm concerned. It's not a hey, we need a body at right back. I mean, he's a must start guy the minute he gets on the field, in all honesty. And if you're Roma, it's going to be only a half-season loan, so it's not that far of the question. If your game plan is to basically send him out for half a season and then give him a shot, during the break to see if they can get, if he's going to help the team, or find him another loan after that. So it's not far-fetched, but frankly, I'm, as much as I love Reynolds and love what he could bring to the team, I would rather they not. I would rather it has nothing to do with MLS, or it's nothing to do with that. It's my opinion that there are 4 right backs on the senior roster, 4 of them, and you're talking about Tumasi, you got talking about Giovanni Jesus, you're talking about Endele, you got Colin Smith. I'd rather one of them step up, and frankly, as far as I'm concerned, if they're serious about bringing Reynolds, then I'm worried that Emma's injury is far worse than they're leading on, because that's the only reason you'd need to bring in a starter, is because Giovanni Jesus is not, because he's a young player and he's more of an attacking player than a defensive player. he's not a player you can start out like you can start every match. He's more of a start him against the right opponent or start him as a change of pace coming off the bench. And so that would be my concern, is admitting to, hey, Emma is more banged up than we're leading on, and or something else. Let's not forget that some players on this roster have transfer value, and if this team wants to make changes at other positions, a player like Emma, who's not making, a crap ton of money, and who has plenty of MLS starting experience, a player like that becomes very, very enticing for other MLS teams. The same thing goes for a guy like Edwin Cerrillo. If the team was to basically decide they don't want to go with the two DMs and say, hey, we want to go with Quignon, and once we got Paxton back and the Jet back, we're going to go back. Quignon is going to be starting every match. Then a guy like Cerrillo, who's got all these star experience, he becomes very enticing to another MLS team. And that's frankly the only way this team's going to make any major moves is if one of the players on the roster gets traded and then they take that trade funny money and go get another player for another position. So,
good question. RT News. Yeah, I mean, does FC Dallas hold pat? They brought in Ansa already. Colin Smith is back from his loan. I don't know if that can be adjusted and he goes back to Birmingham, but they probably have a close to a full roster.
And
Dante, right? And they just got a little something or the other from Justin Che. I don't think a lot, but they may have gotten something from Justin Che being sold.
Let's just see what we do get that we know for a fact. And the one thing we know for a fact is it opens up a reserve roster spot for sure. And then he was making like 150, something like that. So that frees up that salary. So at the minimum, I wouldn't be shocked if they take that money and sign a homegrown, for example, that kind of reinforcement. So someone like, I don't know, Ramirez or maybe they say, hey, Ursula is ready to make the step up from North Texas up to FC Dallas, but it frees it up. Maybe they take that money and, lock down Icestone, which they need to do, by the way. So having that open roster reserve spot and a little extra money, why can't you turn around after that to Icestone? So that would be my thing. I think that's what it does. It frees up a spot, and now you can go get whoever your biggest homegrown target is, which I would assume is Icestone, and sign them up and lock them up.
Well, I think there are a lot of scenarios in play, I think, this transfer window for FC Dallas, and that because of what's happened in Miami with Messi coming in, and that team is going to go under a drastic makeover from what we are hearing, whether they can actually pull that off.
Well, it's happening. It's happening. They're having a fire sale. They're like, hey, we got DP. You want them? You want this player? And they are. They're doing a fire sale. They're doing and can you blame them? I mean, they're dead last, aren't they? In the East, and if they're not, they're near dead last. So it doesn't hurt to have a fire sale because Messi is that kind of player that can win you a game by himself. That's not something you can frown upon. I mean, he's the kind of player that can turn losses into draws and draws into wins. And whatever you think of Miami, that alone will make them exciting to watch.
Well, with that fire sale and other teams jockeying around, there's always potential for FC Dallas to go out and pick up a player on a very nice, friendly deal who really helps the team. So I wouldn't. All my point is, I think, I wouldn't put it out of question that FC Dallas is not going to make a move of some kind to strengthen this team, and it may still mean someone departing. The MLS guys like Andrew Wiebe and others have always said that FC Dallas can buy down one of their DPs and open up a DP spot, which would be really cool to see. And maybe with Pepe's being sold and Che, maybe they have some funds to go out and get somebody. But we haven't heard any smoke to that yet, and I don't know yet. And I don't know whether that player would be worth it to bring in that would make a big enough difference as this team pushes. So it is a confusing time. There's not in my opinion, a clear spot on the roster where there's not someone when everyone's healthy that you can easily just, you have Velasco at left wing. You have Areola at right wing. In the midfield, you got Paxton, Sebastian, Edwin, and Facundo. I mean, who do you want to displace about that group? Although, yeah, I'm sure a really great defensive mid would be an awesome addition to this team, but you probably have to make room. We got our backup striker. We got a young striker in Kamungo. Central defense, left back, right back. I mean, we're kind of right back, maybe the only question mark at this point, but I think we're a pretty good place in every position. So it'd have to be a really interesting deal and an interesting player.
I'm pretty much decided what player. If you're only going to go out and get one player, just one, then I think you have to go out and get a dual purpose player. Not a player at this position or that position, but I want a player that can play both as a center back and a defensive mid. So it's got to be somebody that's multi talented that can come in and we're talking like maybe the guy isn't the biggest center back, maybe he's like 6 foot or 6'1", but it's a guy that can play. No, you can't bring your hockey gear onto the soccer field, Marcin. But no, seriously, I think getting a player with the idea that it's going to be a super sub type player or someone that could, hey, if you want to keep going with Quignon and Cerrillo, it would be nice to get another 6, and honestly, the only player they have right now that fits that is Nolan Norris, by the way. But
that's right.
I don't think he's ready to perform at the level that we need him to perform. He's probably a year or 2 years away from being that kind of player. But frankly, they need to get a veteran version of that. They need to get a player that can rotate in at center back or at defensive mid.
Good stuff. So a good question. A good question's about maybe FC Dallas stays pat. Maybe they feel pretty good about where they are, and maybe something comes their way and lands in their lap. There's a lot of teams going through a lot of stuff. Toronto's a mess. Inter Miami is doing a lot of turnover. I'm rumors that LAFC may be going after somebody, and so they may need to make some room. There's all kinds of. Oh, of course. Yeah,
there's a lot of players are going to get discarded in Miami and some other teams, So these are players that we're not going to be too excited of signing, but could frankly help us. I mean, someone like Ulloa, who's probably on the outs in Miami because of he's a player that can get rid of and free up a spot for one of their big name acquisitions, who's not making too much and it's not going to hurt them so much. So someone like that might become available, and that's someone who wouldn't necessarily excite us, but you're getting a known commodity, a player what you're getting when you put on the field. And frankly, I think that's the kind of player they're gonna go after. If they bring someone in, yes, I'd love another DP, but I don't think that's gonna happen this summer window, and I think it's gonna be more of a player that we're all like, well, he's serviceable, he can give us minutes, and that's frankly what I'm expecting.
Well, Leagues Cup action begins this weekend. On Friday, actually, should be an interesting match as FC Dallas welcomes Charlotte FC, and then plays. Who do they play in their group here?
Necaxa, isn't it?
Yeah, Necaxa, also at Toyota Stadium. So it should be some fun opportunities. But it's a long break until their next regular season matchup on August 20th. Meanwhile, we do have All-Star Game for those of you who care about the All-Star Game. I don't think I've watched the All-Star Game in a few years. I'll catch a clip or two, but But Jesus Ferrer will likely feature, and he's going to feature in the.
I watch it as long as our FCD players are playing. So if Jesus plays the first half, I'll watch the first half. If he plays the second half, I'll watch the second half. But I'm not gonna watch. As soon as he's yanked, my interest level just disappears.
Yeah. Well, but it might be fun to watch. You never know. It's just kind of you just hope your guys don't get injured and don't get more worn out than what they already are. So it should be interesting this week. Finally, I think the big news we've already talked about is Messi. Messi coming to MLS, to Inter Miami. I did not watch the announcement last night. I wasn't going to learn anything interesting. Just that Lionel Messi is excited to be here. Feels really welcome. He's already been shopping at the local grocery store. Be picking up cereal and stuff.
He's already picking up bad American habits.
Yeah.
I hope that stuff for his kids.
Getting some. Yeah, getting the basics, I guess, and I don't know, whatever. It should be fun. It's going to be a little circus down there.
But you know what? People, were coming up to him and taking pictures and this and that. And I gotta say, he's probably thought it was the best thing ever. Like, if he was somewhere else, he would be getting mugged. Like, he'd had to have private escort or, and the fact that he could probably go at least one aisle without someone coming up and asking him for an autograph, it probably means the world to him. That's one underrated thing that people who crap on the league miss, and that's the fact that you can be a big name star and come to the U.S. and play, and it doesn't matter the sport. You can have a little semblance of privacy that you normally wouldn't get in other countries. You can live in, you can go out in public and not get mugged, not have paparazzi following you around or stalkerazzi or whatever you want to call them, and it's I think that's something that's undersold. It's like, hey, come to US, you can have some semblance of normality in your life that your family will appreciate.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. It will be fun to watch and see if Inter Miami can pull back into contention, right? If they can pull back into some sort of playoff.
I'll be cheering for them in Leagues Cup because, I'm not as pessimistic as everybody else about what FC Dallas is going to do. I think FC Dallas is going to play some of these, they just got Sealy, they got Ansa. Those guys will get minutes, and the guys that'll get minutes are the guys that are coming back from injury, your Paxton Pomykal, your Lejets, Areolas. These guys need to find their form, and I'd rather they find their form in Leagues Cup than in MLS. And so I don't think they're going to roll out a B team or reserve team. I think it's going to be a minus team. You're sure they're going to play reserves, but the stars they play are going to play. It's going to be these guys. It's going to be a Lejet, a Paxton, Areola, guys that are coming back from injury that need the minutes. Giovanni Jesus needs minutes. The guys that I expect to sit are Farfan, Jesus, maybe Cirillo or Quignon, Paz, but that's about it. Those are really the only players I can foresee them. Maybe Velasco, So you're talking about Jimmy Marr starts, Hunqua starts instead of Farfan. That's not so bad. Velasco doesn't start. Don Tosilius looked great. Ansa gets minutes. Jimenez is going to have to get minutes. So, like I said, to me it'll be more like a minus team than a complete B team or a B plus team, if you will. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because every player that I mentioned needs minutes. Kamungo needs minutes. I'm excited about that. Even O'Brien needs minutes, for crying out loud. So I think being at home too makes it so that Velasco may simply need rest, and there's been a lot of pressure on the kid with everybody else being injured, and frankly he may need some time away to get his head straight. Let him go to Argentina, get some of that that homesickness
cooker.
taken care of.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I won't be upset if Velasco is allowed to take a vacation and go back home for a week or two. If it means he comes back and is reinvigorated. That's the same thing goes for Jesus. You know, pass and needs to go spend time with his sexy girlfriend, and Farfan just needs to rest in general. So some players I'll be happy to see them get rest, and other players need to play. So honestly, I would not be shocked if FC Dallas fields one of the stronger lineups in League's Cup because while we're all worried that they're gonna not take it serious, we have no clue how everybody else is gonna take it. I think it's gonna be a fun tournament. I think for every team that doesn't take it serious, there's going to be a team that takes it serious, and it's going to be those teams that are at the lower end of the table, or that have been struggling of late, like FC Dallas, who are going to take it serious because there's three CCL spots on the line, and you know you look at the USOC and who are the teams that are take it serious? The guys at the bottom of the table, because that's one way they can claim they had some kind of success and win that CCL spot. So yeah, I think FC Dallas can be one of those teams, and I expect them to get out of the group, you know, unless they totally prove me wrong and they start all the North Texas guys, which is still a possibility.
Well, appreciate all the comments, everybody, tonight. And I think we're going to leave it there for now. And appreciate your time. A lot of interesting news to get to today. And, of course, we'll be following along at afterburn.soccer. Please check out the piece I wrote about Javier Cano's departure as head coach of North Texas. Interesting little tidbits there, as well as some other news. We look back at the weekend. And, of course, this week, we'll bring you some other news and video, especially the first media availability for North Texas with coaching staff as they meet with the media on Thursday. We'll have some interesting perspectives there talking about what they're looking to do and how they're looking to build from this moment with that team. But it should be nice. So yeah, all-star stuff going on for the next couple of days. And we got on Friday, we got the Leagues Cup kicking off. Plenty of soccer to get to and enjoy. And the Women's World Cup, by the way, which should be a lot of fun. So,
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks. And good night, everybody. Please like, subscribe, share. We'll see you next time.
Good night.